King's Cross is coming alive. The 67 acres of land lying to the north of this historic London rail hub were for years a byword for industrial decline and social problems. Now the area is being transformed into an entirely new neighbourhood, with offices, homes, shops and restaurants, new roads, and even a university. This is construction on a scale to gladden the heart of a government seeking economic growth. But the journey hasn't always been smooth, and might act as a cautionary tale to ministers currently being urged to use large-scale infrastructure projects to galvanise growth. Under a regeneration scheme set in motion 11 years ago by Argent, the site's developer, 20 of the area's historic buildings will be preserved or converted to modern uses. This vast brick edifice is where London used to store its grain out of direct light. Now fully refurbished, the granary has become the University of the Arts London and opened its doors last year to 5,000 students and staff. Echoes of the past are everywhere. Beneath our feet, the student bicycles are stored in the same place where 800 horses were once stabled. Serious efforts to revive the area go back to the 1980s, but earlier schemes foundered on the rocks of a volatile property market and uncertainty over plans for local transport links. But Argent says the latest plans were given a massive boost by the government's decision to pour investment into the local transport infrastructure.
The principles of a high-density mixed-use development that treats the heritage a certain way, there's more consensus around that now and in the last 10 years than there was before that, when some of these big sites were certainly political footballs to a certain extent. But we haven't had that so much, and there's no doubt that political and planning certainty has helped bring through a number of big projects in London, including King's Cross.
At a time of anemic economic growth, it is just the sort of large-scale construction project that business groups have been pressing the government to instigate elsewhere. But one thing it has not been is fast.
There's no doubt that the planning process for King's Cross took a very long time. There's all sorts of land assembly issues, complexities of being in one borough on the boundary of another, and the fact that a lot of it was contaminated, been used for railway and other type industrial purposes in the past. It needed a lot of work doing on it. It had all the ingredients of taking a long time, and of course there was enormous community opposition as well. People live in and around this area, and they were not enthusiastic about much of the development as originally proposed.
Points of tension included the buildings to be preserved and making sure a number of local people would be trained through the scheme. Residents wanted as much as 50% of new housing to be affordable or otherwise subsidised.
Well, during the planning of King's Cross Central, there were major issues about the land use. Was the development to be entirely office-based? We didn't want a Canary Wharf. We didn't want somewhere where nobody can go at night. We didn't want somewhere where the land was privatised. We wanted streets, and in the end we got streets. We wanted residential accommodation, and in the end we got about 2,000 units of residential accommodation.
First impressions of King's Cross and St Pancras have already been transformed for new arrivals at its termini. The reshaping of its surrounding lands promises another phase of economic growth. But the lesson for politicians is that the benefits may come to fruition long after they have left office. James Pickford for the Financial Times.